Hello, everyone. Welcome to Data Platform Virtual Summit 2021 on Power BI Paginated session. Today I will be talking about Power BI Paginated reports, and this is what you see right now on screen is agenda for this session. So basically, what we will be looking into is what is Paginated report. The main focus is working with the Paginated reports using Power BI datasets as a source. What kind of things we need to take care of when we are developing Paginated reports using Power BI datasets. Different way of how the report parameters work in this scenario. The new Paginated report visual, which is still in a preview, has been launched, I think, 2 months ago. We will see some scenarios using that Paginated report visual, some best practices, tips and tricks, and now we'll briefly have a few links here where you can go to learn more. All right, so let's get started. Before we move forward, just a little bit about me. My name is Parvinder Chana, also known as Parv Chana as a short name. I have a consulting company called Parvinder IT Solution, which is mainly focused on providing solutions on Microsoft Power BI and Microsoft Data Platform. I'm Vancouver-based here in Canada, Western Canada. If you don't know where it is, it's just a 2-hour drive north from Seattle. I'm a Power BI community super user for last, I think since the super user program started, which is like 4 or 5 years ago. And I'm also a Microsoft Data Platform. This is my 3rd year being a Data Platform MVP. You can reach me on through email, parvinder@paritas.com, or LinkedIn. Please do connect with me, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions. And highly recommend to go to Power BI community and put your questions up there. And there are tons of people who can help and answer your questions. That's just briefly about me. And just one thing, I'm very active on Power BI community, and also continuously post on LinkedIn. Some of the blog posts I do write, and do connect with me on LinkedIn to stay in touch. All right, so let's move on to today's topic. So what is Power BI Paginated reports, and why and how it is different than with the regular Power BI desktop, visuals we create. So first of all, there is the product which is used for Paginated report is called the Report Builder. It's mainly known as the Paginated report, but actually when you go and when you download, you are downloading Power BI Report Builder, and it's not Paginated report. So, but you are building Paginated reports. So it's mainly used for operational reporting, like where you have pages and pages of like kind of a ledger kind of scenario, or invoices you are printing, like more highly pixel perfect formatting, right? Where you can define each and every area. Okay, this will be you can control every aspect of your reports. That's why it's also known as the pixel perfect. It's usually used for like exporting the data in the format you want, or printing purposes, as I said, invoices, or it could be any other very highly formatted document you want to print. Again, under the hood, it's pretty much SSRS. If you guys know SQL Server Reporting Services, if you know SQL Server Reporting Services or SSRS, which is in the market for probably more than 20 years. And a lot of people know SSRS. So there is a very little learning curve if you come to using Power BI Report Builder. Like if you know SSRS, you can easily start using Report Builder. There is nothing, you will not find anything different. It's pretty much the same. The only thing is, like again, the topic in the session, what I'm doing here is like using Power BI Report Builder with regular SQL Server and all that stuff is pretty much the same as you do in SSRS, but it becomes a little bit different when you're using Power BI datasets as a source for your report, and what kind of things we need to take care in that point of time. So that's where it is. Otherwise, it's just an SSRS, but working with Power BI data sets need to be a little bit more attention and needs a little bit more learning. And one special call out here is a RS custom DAX filter. This is a function which is very specific to the paginated reports or the using paginated reports. You will never, if you are using Power BI desktop and developing visualization or developing dashboards and reports, you probably never use this particular function until you start using paginated reports. Let's move forward. So again, one thing is I have a barcode on the bottom right hand side of the corner. That's just a feedback form. If you whenever you have an opportunity, please scan and send the feedback, and that helps me to improve my contents and help me to improve what I'm presenting. So please, whenever you get a chance, scan it and submit your feedback at the end of the session or whenever you think you wanted to send it. Again, I talked about I'm talking about the report builder, but very specific to working with the Power BI data set. What is Power BI data sets, right? So Power BI data sets, like you are creating a data set, a data model in Power BI desktop. Let's say you're creating, we will look at an example. You create a data model in Power BI desktop, and then you publish it in the cloud, and then you have a schedule refresh going on, and on regular basis your data set, you have all the measures, all the calculations being done in this, all the business rules are applied in there. If you're connecting data from multiple sources, let's say your sales data is coming from SQL Server, customer coming from SQL Server, you have a budget in Excel file, somewhere in the SharePoint, you mash up everything, you clean the data, create the model, you publish, you refresh it on a regular basis, so that becomes your Power BI data set. Now that data set can be, you can connect to the data set directly with the Power BI desktop and create your visualization and reports. It's also known as a shared or a golden data set. So one single data set for the organization, or maybe multiple data sets for the different department, depending on different companies have different approaches to do that. But basically the data set is your source for your reporting, whether it's analytical reporting, whether you're creating a Power BI desktop and visualizing the data, creating bar charts and all different kind of interaction with the reports, or you are creating an operational reporting, which is Power BI paginated reports using report builder. So that's basically so basically what we have is a one single view for our both analytical and operational reporting. It's not like for analytical reports we have this Power BI data set, we have created this model and we are working on that, and when it comes to the operational reporting or the paginated reports, then we are directly connecting to the source, and let's say in the SQL Server, and then we are putting the formulas in there and then recreating all the gross margin, cost and all the stuff. But using Power BI data set, all the heavy lifting, all the calculation, all the business rules, what need to be include, exclude, all the measures are already there. Now we can take the advantage of that single view and use in our both operational and analytical reports. So that's why this becomes really, really useful when we use a Power BI data set where we have done efforts to create a solid data model, and which is the data is continuously getting refreshed, and then we are using it for both purposes, for our analytical and operational reporting. So that's kind of where the Power BI data sets come in the picture and what does it actually mean. Let's quickly take a look a few of the examples through our first I will go through our data model, which we're going to work into use in our paginated reports, and then we will look into some of the different scenarios, how we use that Power BI data set or in our paginated reports. So let's take a look. So I'm going to switch quickly to Power BI desktop and then start using it there. All right, here is a simple Power BI report, which is based on a SQL Server using AdventureWork as a data set. Just to quickly show you guys for a simple model here. Actually, this is the one. So there are more tables, but I'm just gonna keep it simple and show you the basic model here. So we have a sales fact table. which is connected with our calendar dimension, date dimension, commonly known as, and it's a relation on date, order date, and also on the due date. And of course, as we know, only one relationship can be active at any given time. So between two tables, so it's activated on active on the order date. And on here we have a customer dimension, and the sales table is connected to customer one-to-many, and the product, very simple model. There are a few measures like a sales and whatnot. So maybe I will show you, like dollar sales is just a sum of sales amount. Nothing fancy here. And again, the purpose of this session is more about Paginated report, but I'm using Power BI dataset as a source. So this is our model. Again, product, calendar, customer is our dimensions, and the sales table is our fact table, and a couple of measures, and this is just the visualization. So I have published this report in the cloud. And, data set. So you will see this is our data set, and which we will be using for our Paginated report. So let's start that. So I'm gonna start report builder. So let's say the purpose is that we wanted to create the customer statements using this Power BI data sets from the Paginated reports. And the reason behind that is at the end of the month, or whatever the frequency is, we want to send it by email, by exporting to PDF, or maybe by exporting to Excel, or by printing and send it to the customer. So that's why it's highly formatted and has all the export for printing if required. We can print the pages and pages if we needed to. Oh, there's a new version, but anyhow, I will not go for that right now, but cancel it. So first and foremost thing is I'm going to connect to the Power BI dataset. So similar concept like Power BI desktop. If you're using it, like you need to be logged into the instance. Like if you have a multiple instance, you work with you log into the specific instance. So I'm going to log into my particular instance here. So switch account. Currently I've logged into one of my clients. So I'm going to go with my username, and if I remember my password. Oh, it's already logged in, this cached. Okay, perfect. So as you can see, I'm logged in as a Parvinder at Paritas.com. So I'm logged into my tenant. So the next thing I need to do is I need to connect to the Power BI dataset. So I go new, and here comes the Power BI dataset connection. So what we're going to do is we connect to Power BI. So there's a tons. It's going to show me all the datasets is available to me, but the one which we're interested is in the meetup Paginated. That's what we're interested in, and then I'm gonna use this is the one I'm interested. So I'm going to connect to that one. So now you can see under data sources it has connected to Power BI dataset, and let's rename it and call it sales dataset. Now here is one thing which I really wanted to highlight, and it's a bit of confusing. In Paginated report, the Power BI dataset becomes a data source. So data set, again, the Power BI published data set becomes the data source for the Paginated report, but the data sets within the Power BI report builders are the queries to that particular data source. So Power BI report builder data set is a data source, is a Power BI service data set. So as you can see, we connected to the Power BI data sets published in Power BI service, and any query we create under Power BI report builder is called the data sets, which is using data source as a source for the data. So let's try here one. So I'm gonna create a data set. Now this data set doesn't mean the data set in Power BI service. It means that query which is going to use the data source, which is our Power BI data set. And let's call it a customer and product. Actually, you can't have the space in there. Now, here is the one most common mistakes I have seen people do when they are connecting to Power BI data set and trying to create a report. So let's say this is a simple task. We want to list all the customers and all the products, right? So that's kind of our ask is. So what I'm going to do is customer and data and product. So I go query designer. So what it is going to do here is it's going to connect to our Power BI data set, which we have given in the data source. And now, as you can see, it is showing us all our dimensions. It's a similar. If we go back to our Power BI report, so all the tables here and the measures is all showing up in here, right? So as I said, I want a customer from my dimension table. I want customer, and from product table, I want the product. So this is what my requirement is. I want a customer and product, and say OK. So what it does is at this point of time, it writes a DAX query for you. If you know directly how to write a DAX query, you can actually type in directly here. I think this was released recently, that you can actually write your query. If I know what this query DAX statement query is supposed to be, I don't need to go through the query designer. I can write it down here straight in this place, and just execute the query. So like it automatically, if you guys know how to write that, you guys use DAX Studio and whatnot, you guys probably seen how the DAX queries are written. So it's pretty much wrote whatever we selected through the query designer, it developed a DAX query for us. So this is what it does, and we don't need to go into this in detail for now. So I say okay. So now we have a data set, which is a query in report builder called customer and product. So it has a customer and product data, which is coming from Power BI service, which holds our Power BI data set. So now I'm just going to add this, insert a table. So I'm going to say okay, customer. This is simple, SSRS if you used in the past. Nothing fancy about here. It's the same concept. So let's delete this column. All right, so we have done this, and this looks okay. So when I run this, unfortunately, it is not going to work. And let it run for maybe a few seconds. And in the meantime, we can see if we look into our Power BI desktop, and we have approximately 18,000 customers, and we have products. So we have 600 products. So it should be, it's a fairly small number of rows, but this is going to take forever. And actually, I'm going to cancel this. I know it's not going to work. So basically, what is happening at this point of time? Let's see if we can stop it. So okay, if we don't give a measure, so if we look into go back to understand the problem here is we selected customer from the customer dimension, and we selected the product from the product dimension. There is no direct relationship between these two tables, right? So we know how the DAX works, right? If it doesn't have a relationship between those tables, it's going to return all the rows. So basically, at this point in time, it's returning the Cartesian rows, basically all customer with all the products. So basically, 18,000 customers multiplied by 606, and that big of a number of rows. So that's why this is taking forever. I mean, I can show you guys, for example, if we go back and go to dataset, go to query again. Let's say we filter on one or two customer here. I can go to my customer and select a couple of customer. Pre-filter, basically I'm pre-filtering the data. Let's say I pick 2 of these and say okay. So now you will see it will redo the DAX query what it needed to. If we want to check the query, we can right click on here and click on the dataset query and go to dataset properties. And see it has, before it was only summarized columns, now it added the filter where the customer is Aaron or Aaron Alexander or Aaron Adams. So that's pretty much it. It did the query for us. Let's run it. All right, so we see each product is showing for 2 of the customers we selected, Aaron and Adams, and we're seeing everything. So basically we should be seeing 1200 rows approximately, 600 products, so 600 for Aaron Alexander and 600 for Aaron Adams. So basically that's what is happening. So when we did not filter the customer table, so we were having that 18,000 customer multiplied by 606, and that's what it was happening. So what's the fix for this? Like, we know why it is happening, because there is no direct relationship between customer and product, right? So that's the reason. So one way to do that is either add another measure in there, and it would fix this, or there is one way to do that is we can come here in our Power BI desktop. This is here one of the way of solving the problems. Come here in desktop. So we try to produce the same thing. We say customer. So we get the customer from customer table, and then we took the product from the product table. So now here it works fine, because what Power BI desktop, the way it evaluates this is differently compared to how Power BI Paginated report does. So if we go in a view, if you guys don't know about the performance analyzers, you can see the queries written behind the scene through the performance analyzer. So I will turn on the performance analyzer, I start recording, and I say refresh visual. So I have only one visual, so this is the table visual as we have, and the time it took to run that. So now if we go in a table, and I can see the query here, so I can copy the query. So if I go in a notepad, so paste the query. So basically in Power BI desktop, it wrote the query with the same thing, customer and product, but what it does is it counts the number of rows, and then it filters out the blank rows. So basically where there is no a sales between customer and product, it filters out those combinations. So Power BI desktop is smart enough. Now what we can do is, now this query has been already written. So you will see there is a filter on Canada and United States. The reason behind that is because I think in here I have a page level report filter on all pages, Canada and United States, just filter the customer on that. But anyway, if we remove that, the query will query. And Power BI Report Builder does develop its own DAX query, right? So we can come back here and we go in a dataset properties, and now instead of using the queries done by this, I can take this query away and paste the queries which is created by Power BI desktop, which it already did for me, and I don't need to rethink or redo the queries. So do that in Power BI desktop through performance analyzer, get the query and just paste in a report builder, and then I say okay. So now the similar result what we're getting in Power BI desktop, we will get in the report builder as well. So if now I run this, so this will run perfectly fine. I see all the customers and all the products where there are some sales. So the takeaway from here is that if the relationship between the you have to keep in mind how the tables are related in your model. So if there is no relationship between these two tables, and if we go to the Power BI report builder and put the columns from these two tables, it's going to give us the Cartesian product, so basically list of everything, and which will, I've seen this many times when people run into this. Either we put a measure in there to overcome that, or we do the same thing in Power BI desktop and take the query and paste in the report builder and get the result. So that's kind of the first step, and one thing you guys always should take care when you're using Power BI data set as a source, and using it in report builder. So the model, how the tables are connected, is very, very important and very critical. How the result, what kind of results you get in the Paginated reports. So that's the one thing. Let's look into a few other things with demo. All right. Here is the second demo. What we're going to do here is what we want to do is we want to sales by a customer and a product, and we also want to do is give the option to choose a customer and the product from the parameters value, and then only show those customers or those products and the sales for based on the selection. So let's build in a query. Again, we're gonna, our data source is still our Power BI data set as our data source. So we're gonna go here and then we go query designer. Right, let's see. Oh no, first I need to give it in a, let's say, sales. I choose the data source name, sales data, query designer. All right, no. So again, what we want is customer. You can actually type it. It takes a little bit time. So we have a customer we want the product, right? And then we want the dollar sales amount. So we have a measure for that, which is dollar sales. So that's perfect. Now to create the parameters, again, if you're using SSRS, same thing. You will add customer on this pane, which is for the filter, and these are two check boxes, and the first one and the second one is to and from. In this case, there's no to and from, so it's only one single check. So it creates this as a parameter, and then we need two parameters, and the second one is a product. So just quickly create a product. So same thing, and we're not doing any selection here. If we do a selection here, that will be pre-filtered, right? So that data set is pre-filtered for that particular selection. But here we want all the list of all the customers, all the products. So by checking mark, we're creating these parameters. Once this is done, I can actually execute the query here and just see the result. So this is what the sales look like by customer and whatnot. So I'm happy with my result, and then okay. So what it's going to do is it's going to create again a query for us, as you guys will see here brief in a second. So what it does is summarize if you guys know that. And now here you see RS customer custom DEX filter function coming in the picture. Basically what it does is take the parameter values, because we can have the multiple values selected from there, and translate it to filter the product table. And same one is for if we break it down, summarize columns, and then you have a RS custom DEX filter here, and then you have another RS custom DEX filter here, and then this is the measure. So this sorry, I can't increase the font size here. So this is to take the parameter value, multiple selection list, and convert it in a way this RX DEX custom DEX filter does is, and filter the customer for based on the selection, and similarly for the product as well. So I go okay. All right, so we have a sales data set which has a customer and product. And now if we look into parameters, so we have two parameters which is automatically created called dim customer and dim product. So if we look into the parameter properties, one of those, it's name, it's a prompt. Again, there are certain settings here: allow blank value, allow multiple values. So we can change it. Let's say we don't want blank value, we want multiple values. And similar for the product, we don't want blank values, so we did that. We can do these settings. One thing you will notice under data sets, if we go right click on the data sets and say show hidden data sets, you will see there is two data sets. It created hidden data sets, which is used to fill a drop down list for the parameter values. So if we look into the parameter properties, if you go in available values, you will see it says get value from the query, And in that, in customer case, it's taking from dim customer parameter value and whatnot. So you can always look into the queries it has written for those. So it has created all this fun stuff. We don't need to go into this, but basically what it does is create the list of all the customers, and that particular query or data set is then used as a drop-down list for the customer and product. So this is what it is doing. So what we can do is, so we're going to create a table here. Oh, interesting. Okay. Insert table. So we go customer, product, and then we save. And one thing you want to notice, if we go back to the Power BI desktop, if we look into dollar sales measure, it is a currency with the comma and no width type. The format is currency, but in here it does not auto bring those formatting here. So you need to format it here. So what I'm going to do is, because this is a value, I'm going to go at right align and change the look and feel it to be currency. So I see it has changed from to currency and a right align. So whatever I want to call it, dollar sales. So I can now, because this is pixel perfect, whatever the way I want it, I can change every and single thing here. So once this is done, now I can run. If I run this, the first thing you guys will notice, we will have now two parameters, which will be a customer and product, and here, and the interface when you publish this report in Power BI service is much nicer parameter selection, but here it just isn't. Even in Power BI service you have an option to search. So now I can choose customers, and then I can also choose products, right? So it is given me the list of all the products. So I can choose whatever the product list I want to, product I want to see the sales for. But let's say pick everything and then go view report. And at this point of time, what we will get to see, we will see is a customer, and we selected in the product for sale for that product for that customer, $69, and for Aaron it's the $53. If there are multiple products for these customers, I can choose more customers if I wanted to. Let's pick a few of those and say view report. So I see maybe I can sort it by customer name if I needed to. So which again, let's run it. If you don't find anything in the report builder, search for SSRS. So now we have a sorted by customer, and Aaron Coleman has two products, and this is a sale, and so I can group and all this stuff. But this is how the parameter works. But here is the one thing which I didn't like. For example, if we look into that, the Aaron or couple of if I select a customer, it has only very few products. But when I'm doing I'm selecting a customer, my product table is showing all the products. So how about if I select a customer and it only show the product which has sales, only show the product which that customer has purchased, right? And then we sold to that customer. So rather than having a full list of, so let's say if Aaron has only two products he bought from us, and then it only shows up two products, right, and whatnot. So how we have our parameter just show the value based on the previous parameter value, or cascaded parameter, also known as very commonly, like how we do that in here. So what we can do is we can create another data set. So I'm going to turn off show hidden data sets. I create another data set. I'm going to call it product, right? So again, sales data set is my data source. I go in a query design. So first of all, what I need here is I want the list of the products. So that I really need right? So here's a list of products. Then one thing I need to add is to add the my measure to it, because if I don't do that, it's going to list me all the product. But as soon as I add a measure to the product, so what is going to happen is it's only going to list those products that has sales, right? Even in our product table, 606 products, but only, let's say we have a sale of across all the customers, sales of 120 products, for example. I don't know how many those are. So this will filter, and you know how this works in Power BI Desktop. Like if I just go product here, and again I'm switching back and forth between, if I go product, so right now this is a list of all the products, but as soon as I add the measure next to it, it's only going to list the product that has sales, because it's not going to list, like as you can see, there's only few products. But if I remove the sales, it shows all the products. So this is how Power BI, how the DAX works, because it's a blank, measure is turning a blank value. That rows does not appear in the visualization. So same thing what we're trying to do here is we selected the product, we selected the dollar sales, so that our list is only the product that has been sold. But now what we want is, so this is already a shorter list, but what we want is we want our product list to be only based on the customer we selected. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a customer parameter to this as well. So we say, okay, filter it by customer. Again, I have to make sure that I check the parameters here. So then once I do that, so if I click OK, so it's going to again write a DAX query for us, which is just checking the time, 42 minutes. Okay. So it created the query and also put the RF custom DAX filter. So basically get the customer and filter this particular query. So just not going to go into detail. So now we have another data set or query in here. The sales is our original, and then the product. So the customer parameter is common to both sales and product because it's coming from the same table. So what I can do is in the product parameter, instead of, if I go in the parameter properties, as I told, it creates the hidden data sets. Instead of using that hidden one, we say, okay, don't use that one, use my product table, which query I created, and take that one, and I want to list the product, and the label field is also product. But label field, if you want to show a different something you want to show, rather than have the note the product but something else, you can have two columns, one for value and one for the label. So for our case it's the same, so I go okay. So now my product table is based on my product parameter is going to list the values based on the product query or the product data set. The hidden data set which has been created, it's there, it's not gone, but we are not using that. So let's run this now and see how does this looks like. Okay, so let's go back here. So let's pick one customer for now. So at this point in time, what it's going to do is it's now filtering our product data set, what we created, passing the customer value to that particular data set from this parameter selected, and then giving us back the list of the products. So if we go here, so we have only now 3 or 4 products, which basically Aaron Adams had about these 4 products. If I select all these 4, so if you view the report, instead of the whole list of products, we have selected Aaron Adams, and then we have 4 products in the parameter, and then it only shows me the products based on the customer selected. So for example, if we selected more than one customer here, let's say 4 customers, and now my product list is based on the sales has been done to those 4 customers. So before we were seeing 4 products, now we see all the product that has been sold to these customers, which is not only 4 but more than 4. So if I select all the now this parameter doesn't make sense. Is not like user is selecting the products which has not been sold to those customers, and then they're just showing up in the list. So my list is much cleaner and shorter, and based on the on the selected customer. So if I select all the products, so now I can see this is my pre-created report, which looks a little bit nicer. So I have a grouped it by customer. So Aaron has this total. So again, this cascading parameter helps a lot. How you can create, basically the takeaway here is you create your own data set and then use that as your parameter value. Now you create your own data set the way you want, right? So by default, when you create a parameter, it's create a hidden data set underneath and use that to fill the available values. But you can create your own data set, whatever you want to do with that data set or whatever you want to show in the available values, you can control that and then use that in your parameters. So this is what we've seen. In the next section, another demo, we're gonna talk about the parameters again, but we're gonna talk about the date parameters because they behave a little bit differently. We will look at a quick demo about the date parameters and go and see how we can improve the look and feel of the parameters. All right, let's continue this and look into some more parameter related stuff. So what we're going to do is, let's say we have a ask here to create a customer statement within a date range, right? So again, simple thing, customer product, we select from and to date range and just give us the sales within that date range. So that's again simple thing. We create a data set and our source is sales data set. We go to the query designer. Again, just quickly looking at our data model. We have a calendar which is linked with the sales. So anything filtered on the date here in the calendar table will filter all the sales orders within that date range. So we're going to use that. So let's go back here. Simple thing again. We're going to sales. So dollar sales we need customer and we need product, and on parameters, so we need a date from our date calendar table, so calendar dimension, so we put it in the parameter section up above there in the filter. And here what we're going to do is we're going to choose between range inclusive, and we're going to choose two. There's second checkbox, it's a from date range, and the second one is to create a parameter for the to date range. So we have a two parameters there created. So let's click on OK, and let's check the query it does for us. I don't want to go into this query. Pretty extensive look like. Basically, what it is doing is it's taking the parameter value and converting it in the date. Here in the filter section, if you look, calendar date is less than date value. So basically, creating the string, and it does actually manipulating the string there. But that's not what we are interested in. What we're going to see is like how this date parameter look like and how does it work. So let's insert a table here. So we go customer, same thing, product, sales. Again, we can do a right line. Let's say dollar. We can add a. For some reason, my computer is really slow. We can have an add total. So that's sum. This is all SSRS, or nothing fancy about it. So now, if we look into the parameters, what we have is we have two parameters, from calendar date and to calendar date. And if we go in a hidden data sets, as I said, it creates a hidden data sets which are used as the available values for those parameters. Yeah, I opened my existing file. So here it is, again, from calendar date. available values are coming from that data set, and 2 calendar data as well. So if we run this, um, let's see, what we see is a from to date, which is okay, but it is a list of dates, which is theoretically or is not practical to select a range or date from a drop-down list. This could be like many values depending on how many number of years you have in a calendar table, how long your calendar table is. Usually you expect a calendar parameter type to be an icon to show up where you can pick the date from a calendar and define your from and to date. So by default, when you create a data set and you give the date as your parameter, it does create that kind of a parameter for you. It doesn't assign it as a value of parameter as of type date type, but it is a text, and that's why we have an available list of things. But what we can do is we can actually make a change to this and create this as a date parameter. So I'm gonna open an existing file which I already have created just to quickly show you guys, because I'm running out of time, so don't have enough time, but I will just quickly let me run the file. So basically I created 2 parameters, a from date, and I actually manually created those parameters. So you can change the type of the existing parameter, made it date time, and available value is none, and similar thing I did to the to calendar table, and available value is none. And because the data type is date time, and if I run this, what you see here is you don't have a drop down, but you have a calendar icon here, and now you click that, you have the option to choose as you expect it to be navigated and to select a date. So much easier interface to work with. So you pick a year or month or whatever and date, and then you view your report. So by default, if you create a date type parameters, it created as a text when you take, maybe there's no value within that period. So let's say if I go back to 2014 maybe, so it's created a text and then a drop down list, which is practically not possible to use as a parameter value. But one thing I have to do, once I create this as a date time parameter values, earlier it was text in our existing file, other file I showed you, this was a text, right? If we go back here, parameter type is text, and if we look at our sales query, just for the data set one is a sales query, it has by default a path length and all the stuff. It's basically combining the string together to make sure it's a valid date and doing that stuff. But once I switch it to date type, my parameter as a date time, which is 3.2 file, and I don't have to do that whole thing. What I did is in the query, I came here, I edited the query, and directly, because in the date parameters, I know this is going to be the valid date in there, so I automatically took the date value. Date value is a DAX function. If you don't know, so date value, just quickly, what does that do? It's basically convert your text to the represent a date. So converts a date time, converts a date in text format to a date in date time format, right? So what we're doing is calendar date is of a date time type, and then we are saying, okay, give me the from calendar date and get the date value, and calendar date is greater than equal to less than, and then we get the sales within that range. So basically what you can do here is the two things is like you can change the parameter value, you can create the parameter whatever way you want, and then you come into your query, in your DAX query, and then you can and change the query the way you want it. The simpler way is if you don't know For example, again, if I don't know what this query is supposed to look like, again, as I said, you go back to your Power BI. So here is a simple thing. What we wanted is, here is a simple thing. We want is a customer, right? So let's, whatever we did in Power BI Paginated report, we produce it here. So we have a customer, oops, and then we have a product, and then we have a dollar sales. All right, so that's our thing. So, but our parameter here is a date range. So from the date tables, we have a date. So we put this as in a parameter. We go as a slicer. So that's within the date range. So let's say we do 2010 to 2014, whatever, like this. So now I have a new query. Copy it, go here, paste. So now see, I have a start and end range. So this will be my from parameter, and this will be my to parameter, and the rest of the stuff I will just grab it here and paste it in Power BI report builder, and everything would work, right? So if you don't know what to do, so you can always come to Power BI desktop and create your query, create your visual here, and through performance analyzer grab the query and take it to the report builder and tweak it. So this is the one way, like how you can, by default the date time parameters are shown as in text and as a drop down list, so you can convert the parameter value to date time, and it will look like a nice looking a calendar parameter, and then you can tweak your actual query to use those parameter values. So that's kind of how different parameters, how you use it, what are the best practices, and what we how we should use that. So how we cascade the parameters, and we create our own data sets to give the available values to the parameters. So we've seen all that stuff. Next thing we're going to look into is how the new Power BI paginated visual allow us to embed these reports directly in Power BI report, and then pass the parameter values in the Power BI desktop to these reports, and then it gives us the ability to export the data or print the data, export in PDF or print or whatever within the Power BI desktop. Whereas currently we can't export metrics visual as it is from Power BI desktop, or the tables, or we cannot print from Power BI desktop itself. But with the paginated report, we can format the report the way we want it and then export it. So we will look into that next. So let me. All right. So let's look into the report which we're going to embed in the Power BI desktop. So here is a simple a report which is a let's quickly run it. So it has a date parameter from to, and then it also has a customer. So let's say we click a date. I'm just going to directly enter it here, 2020 10 12/31. So I pick from and to, whatever, I save it, and then it gives me the list of the customers who has a sales within that period. And let's say I select all the customers, so then just quickly view the report. So this report, to embed this report in Power BI desktop, first of all, your report need to be published in the workspace, right? So it's not like it's going to be a local RDL file which you're going to embed in Power BI desktop. So your report has to be published in workspace. In order to publish the report, you need to the minimum requirement for Power BI paginated report is that you need a premium capacity, which can be PPU, be backed up by a PPU premium capacity minimum, and then you can't have them pro license to use. Non-premium license can use a paginated report and embed that. So you need PPU. To do that, it's a similar process like publish. So if I publish and it goes and show me all the workspaces. So what I have, as you can see, I have tons of workspaces here. The one with the diamond as a premium capacity, the one with the diamond and a person is a PPU. If I try to publish it into any of these workspaces which has no premium capacity, let's say test report, I'm gonna get an error message. So some sort of, so you can't publish it here. So I already published on the meetup Paginated, so it is under like customer statement with date range. So I just publish it there. Once it is published, so then I go back to my Power BI report. So again, this is our Power BI report, sales overview. Now I know what are the parameters for my reports are. There is a from and start date. So what I have done is I created two measures. One is from the from date, which is the minimum value selected in a calendar date, and one is a to date measure, which is the maximum value. So basically, if let's bring these two. Let's say this is my overview page and the slices in there. So bring these slices, I'm going to cut and paste. So date range and the customer, and bring into page 3. So I paste it here for now. Sync, yes, I can sync the slices. So use a select on the main page and come back to the paginated report page, and then those slicer values are synced. So I can hide these slices if I wanted to. So now I have this from to date range and the customer. So if we look, we're going to connect to the reports, paginated report. Again, this is still a preview. So certain thing doesn't work. Some could be the reason it's in. My machine is also behaving a little funny today. So anyhow, so once I connect to the report, it should show me the list of the parameters that report is. It's again coming from that report. If we go back to our paginated report here, so you see we have 3 parameter from, 2 dim customers. The same names are showing up in here. So here we will give the columns or the measures we're going to use for the parameters. So first is our from date. It doesn't need to be in the same order, but to date, and then we are using customer. So these are the 3 parameters, what the parameter value is going to be. Then I will assign here from is going to use from date, to calendar date is showing me the current values, and the customer is going to show take the customer, and then see report. So often. And so here it is, the report. We see whatever we designed in the paginated report, that's what we're seeing here is. So now basically if I pick another customers, so this report immediately, because I have set the auto apply the filter, so it's immediately as soon as I do the selection, it starts rendering the report. So now we see those 3 customers, and I can of course go with a different date range, and I can go to 2012. Okay, so now immediately it renders. Oh, testing fails again. So I think the best way is to switch back and forth. And we should see, is there no sale between that date range? Maybe not actually. So for those clients, the one which we have selected, maybe there was no sales within that date range. So anyhow, once this is done here, now here is the opportunity I have. I have an export in Excel. I can of course go back to my export and export it in our favorite format, which is Excel. Okay, save. Yes. Let's go. Open the report. Alright, so here we have the sales, and then of course it has those grouping and all that stuff. So we see, I think I did the grouping in Paginated reports. It follow the same format in Excel. So basically what we are seeing in Paginated report does show up in our exports. It gives us the opportunity to export the data the way we want it, and I don't think there's any limit. So I can hide these slices. I can have the sales overview page which has the slices synced with the other one, and as you can see, if I select another 4 or 5 customers, so if I go back to my page 3, so I have the same customer selected here because the sync slicer and my pagina report is rendering and refreshing. Again, in this visual, this is very new and still in the preview. There are a lot more settings in the toolbar. You can see now we see more customer value. You can show the parameters here, so you can actually those parameters shows up in here, and you can always select the values here if you don't want to use these slicers. And there are some other settings which you can do within the Pagina report. So once it is published, you're in the workspace in Power BI Desktop. So your graphs and visuals is also there, and then your Pagina reports are also as part of this report. So anyhow, this new visual is pretty interesting, and I'm already using. Some of my clients are using it, and they're super excited about it. And this is really interesting one. All right, so let's go back to our presentation quickly here. So Pagina report visuals, again, we look into that it allows to integrate Pagina reports within the Power BI Desktop, pass values within the reports from the slices and pass it to Pagina report parameters, and we can do measures and the columns and mix of those things and pass it on. We created from to date range, and then we have passed a multiple value for the customer. And then we can export or print directly from Power BI Desktop. And of course, if it's published in the cloud and the Power BI Desktop report is published in the service, so we can always have the same interaction from the service. Again, usually comes like, do I need to pay for Power BI Report Builder? No, you need a premium capacity. You can download it. Even if you have a Pro today, you can download, you can start building reports, but you cannot share with anything, because to share, you have to publish it in a workspace, and the workspace has to be backed up by Power BI Premium. Yes, do I need Power BI Premium? Yes, you do need Power BI Premium. Minimum is PPU. PPU is again premium per unit. Premium per user license, which is a new license introduced few months ago. Super exciting, because if Power BI Pro is approximately $9.99 per month, and the Power BI Premium is an add-on if you're already Pro, and you add $10 more on top of it, and then basically it's around $19.99 or $20 per month. And the workspaces then need to be on Power BI PPU to minimum to use Pagina report, and then all the users who will access those reports in the workspace need to be on the PPU. It's not only the author who is publishing the report, it is the consumers as well. If 10 people are using those Pagina reports in that particular workspace, they need Power BI Premium. All those users need Power BI Premium, and that's the minimum requirement. Again, best practice is copy and paste DAX code from Power BI. So for desktop, basically, if you don't know the DAX and all the stuff, and you want to modify the query and don't know what to do, go to Power BI Desktop, try to create the similar look and feel in a table visual, performance analyzer, grab the query, tweak it the way you want it. Now, one thing, the second point is remove table names in the DAX query. When you, maybe I will quickly just show here. Let's see. I actually close it, but let's see. So here, if we go any of the page here, maybe page 1 or page 2. Let's say page 1 has this query. So I go view performance analyzer, start recording, refresh visual. So there's a matrix visual and a copy query. So go in here, notepad. So if you look at the query, so in the query it does is the dollar sales is a measure we know, and the measures are global within the Power BI data model, so they doesn't need to be, even it's in a my measure table, but it doesn't, if I remove it, it's still the same thing. So, but when you are doing the performance analyzer, you're creating the query through DAX query through the performance analyzer, it adds that a table name next to the measures. The best practice to remove that, because if you move the measures in a different table and whatnot, you will have the error in your report. Since the measures are global within the Power BI data model, so remove the table, doesn't matter what folder you put the measure in, it will always work. So that's something I learned. So better to have the remove the table name. Again, we saw when we pick up the customer and the product, and it was given as the Cartesian, like all the rows for all the customers, all the products. So it's good to add look at the data model, look how the relationship is. The best practice is to add a measure, so it only return the limited rows, and so that the report doesn't take forever to run, and sometimes it doesn't work even. Again, here are a few links which I put it in here just to way to go to learn more. I will share this slide deck, and then you guys can have the links to these things. And I did not have a link for a new Paginated report visual, which I will add in this one. And I think it's easy to just Google for it, and you will find it, and then you can learn more about all these things. Awesome. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope you learned a lot and or something new from this session. Paginated report is really I'm using it quite a bit now for last year and a half. A lot of my clients are using it, and so that's why I want to share what I learned. Again, please scan this code and provide the feedback how you like the session. Where I can improve and whatnot. And again, thanks to Data Platform DPS 2021 for giving me the opportunity to talk about this. And again, never hesitate to reach out, connect me via LinkedIn or email me, or my phone number is here, which is fine if you want to call me, but I would prefer email or through LinkedIn. Please connect. Again, thanks to DPS, and this is their sponsor, Microsoft, and SQL Server Geeks and Data Platform Geeks. Thank you once again, and all the best. Enjoy this DPS 2021, and talk soon. Take care. Bye now.